Stop giving away our food. The harsh words cut through the afternoon silence as billionaire Ryan Cross discovered his 8-year-old daughter Emma handing their expensive groceries to a homeless black girl. What happened in the next 60 seconds would change 3 lives forever. Ryan Cross stood frozen behind the marble pillar of his Manhattan penthouse building, his $5,000 Armani suit contrasting with the gritty scene before him. For weeks, he'd wondered why Emma came home from her elite private school, claiming she'd forgotten lunch again. The expensive organic meals prepared by their personal chef, untouched. The gourmet snacks mysteriously disappearing. Now he knew the devastating truth. His daughter Emma knelt on the dirty sidewalk next to a cardboard shelter, her pristine school uniform getting stained as she handed a wrapped sandwich to a small black girl who looked about 7 years old. The homeless child had tangled hair that hadn't seen shampoo in weeks, and clothes scavenged from donation bins torn faded, several sizes too large. "Here, Maya," Emma whispered, pulling another sandwich from her Louis Vuitton school bag. "The cook made your favorite turkey and avocado with extra pickles. And look," she added excitedly, "I brought those fancy cookies you liked." Ryan's blood pressure spiked dangerously. This wasn't a one-time incident of misguided charity. His daughter had been systematically feeding this street vagrant for God knows how long. The expensive groceries that cost more per meal than most families spent on food weekly, the gourmet lunches prepared by their $150,000 a year chef, all going to some manipulative con artist who'd figured out how to exploit his naive daughter's bleeding heart. The homeless girl Maya looked up at Emma with eyes holding far too much wisdom and pain for such a young face. Despite obvious hunger and her thin frame swimming in oversized clothes, she hesitated before accepting food, wrestling with internal conflict. "Emma, you don't have to keep bringing me food every day," Maya said softly, her voice carrying an educated accent that caught Ryan's attention. "Your daddy's going to be really mad if he finds out you've been helping me." "Daddy doesn't understand real friendship or caring about people," Emma replied with conviction that shocked Ryan. "He thinks money can fix everything and buy anything, but it can't buy what we have together. It can't buy someone who actually cares about you." Ryan stepped forward with authority, Italian leather shoes clicking against concrete. Both girls looked up, Emma's face draining color as she recognized her father's thunderous expression. "Emma Catherine Cross," Ryan's voice was ice cold. "Step away from her immediately." Emma scrambled up but remained protectively in front of Maya, trembling yet showing remarkable defiance. "Daddy, please don't be angry. This is my best friend Maya. She's incredibly smart and she's a homeless vagrant who's been manipulating you and taking advantage of your generosity." Ryan cut her off brutally. "Security!" 2 uniformed guards appeared instantly. Maya scrambled deeper into her cardboard shelter, terror in her eyes as she clutched a worn stuffed rabbit protectively. "No, Daddy, please!" Emma shouted desperately, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You can't hurt her. She's never done anything wrong. She's the best friend I've ever had." Ryan felt something twist in his chest at his daughter's heartbreaking tears, but he ruthlessly pushed the emotion away. Emma was only 8 years old. She had no understanding of how predatory people operated, especially desperate people with nothing to lose who saw his family as walking ATM machines. "Sir, what are your instructions?" One security guard asked with military precision. "Remove this vagrant immediately and permanently," Ryan commanded with the same cold tone he used during hostile corporate takeovers. "Make certain she understands never to approach this building or my daughter again. If she's spotted near Emma, call police." Maya emerged from her makeshift shelter slowly, still clutching her stuffed rabbit. She looked directly at Ryan with intelligent eyes that seemed to see straight through him, and for a moment, her features reminded him of someone from his past, someone he couldn't identify. "Mr. Cross," Maya said quietly, voice steady despite obvious fear. "I know you think I'm using Emma and taking advantage of your family's wealth, but I promise that's not true. She's the only real friend I've had who didn't want anything except genuine friendship." Ryan laughed with bitter contempt, the sound echoing off surrounding buildings. What could anyone possibly want from a homeless child who has nothing to offer? Maya's eyes flashed with something resembling pity, as if this small child felt sorry for him, the billionaire controlling a business empire worth hundreds of millions. "The same thing everyone wants from Emma, sir. Someone to love them for who they really are inside, not what they can provide." The words hit Ryan like a physical blow, but he refused to show reaction. He'd built his empire on never showing weakness, never revealing cracks that competitors could exploit. "Take her away immediately," he ordered with icy finality. As guards moved toward Maya, Emma broke free and threw her arms protectively around her friend. "I won't let them hurt you," Emma declared passionately. "Emma, sweetheart, it's okay," Maya whispered, hugging back with surprising maturity. "I understand what's happening. Your daddy is trying to protect you from what he thinks is danger, and that's what good fathers do." "Protect me from what?" Emma demanded furiously, spinning to face her father with blazing eyes reminiscent of his late wife Sarah when passionate about social justice. "From kindness? From genuine friendship? From learning that not everyone lives in mansions with servants and chauffeurs?" Ryan stared at his daughter in complete shock. When had Emma developed such profound awareness of social issues? Such passionate convictions about inequality? Such remarkable depth of feeling about others' struggles? "You don't understand the dangerous complexities of this situation, sweetheart," Ryan said, attempting to moderate his tone. "This girl represents risks you're too young to comprehend." "Her name is Maya," Emma interrupted with steel in her voice Ryan had never heard. "Maya Rodriguez, and she's the smartest, kindest person I've ever known. She speaks 3 languages fluently, knows more advanced mathematics than my expensive tutors, and has never once asked me for anything except friendship." Ryan looked at Maya with new eyes, finally noticing the sharp intelligence in her gaze, the quiet dignity despite desperate circumstances, the careful way she spoke suggesting education and strong family values. "Is this true?" he asked Maya directly, natural curiosity finally overriding prejudices. Maya nodded solemnly. "I used to attend regular public school before everything changed in our lives." "Before what happened?" Ryan found himself asking despite intentions to end this conversation. Maya glanced at Emma, who nodded encouragingly, giving permission to share their story. "Before my mother died from cancer after a 2-year battle that bankrupted our family, and my father lost his accounting job and couldn't afford apartment rent," Maya explained with matter-of-fact acceptance that made the tragedy more heartbreaking. "He's been desperately searching for steady work for months, but it's incredibly difficult without a permanent address for applications or decent interview clothes." Ryan felt his rigid worldview shifting uncomfortably. This wasn't lazy people seeking handouts. This was a family destroyed by medical bills and circumstances beyond their control. "Where is your father right now?" "At the main public library downtown," Maya replied precisely. "He spends every day there using free computers to apply for jobs online and studying accounting updates to keep skills current. I wait at the homeless shelter at night, but during daytime I stay near schools because being around education makes me feel normal and hopeful." Emma tugged insistently on Ryan's expensive suit sleeve. "Daddy, can't we please help them? We have so much extra room we don't use. And Maya could help me with Spanish homework. She's way better at languages than Sonora Martinez." Ryan looked at his passionate daughter, seeing his late wife Sarah's enormous compassionate heart shining through Emma's earnest expression. Sarah would have invited them home for dinner without hesitation. Sarah would have seen the human beings behind circumstances immediately. But Sarah had been dead over 2 years, and Ryan had deliberately built seemingly impenetrable walls around his shattered heart to protect what remained of his devastated family from further emotional damage. "I'm genuinely sorry for your family's tragic circumstances," Ryan said with forced politeness and barely concealed coldness. "But this situation is not our responsibility to solve." Maya nodded with heartbreaking, dignified acceptance, clearly unsurprised by his predictable rejection. She'd obviously heard similar responses from other wealthy people before. She hugged Emma tightly with obvious love. "Thank you so much for being my friend, Emma," she whispered with tears forming in intelligent eyes. "Your friendship has meant absolutely everything to me during the hardest time in my life, and I will never forget your incredible kindness." As security guards efficiently escorted Maya away with firm but not unnecessarily rough handling, Emma turned to face her father with tears streaming like rivers and pure disappointment radiating from her small, trembling body. "I hate you," she whispered with quiet, devastating intensity. "Mommy would be so completely ashamed of what you've become." The brutal words completely shattered Ryan's carefully maintained composure like a sledgehammer through glass. Emma ran into the building's lobby and disappeared into the elevator, leaving him standing alone with the crushing weight of his daughter's profound disappointment and haunting memory of Maya's dignified acceptance of another adult's callous rejection. That evening, as sunset painted Manhattan's skyline, Ryan found Emma in her spacious bedroom, sitting motionless by floor-to-ceiling windows and staring at the exact spot where Maya's pitiful cardboard shelter had been positioned hours earlier. "Emma, we need to have a serious conversation about what happened today," Ryan said carefully, choosing words with the same precision used in delicate business negotiations. "No, we absolutely don't need to talk about anything," Emma replied without turning to face him, voice carrying coldness reminiscent of his own emotional detachment. "You made your true feelings and character perfectly clear about what kind of person you really are deep inside." Ryan sat carefully on the edge of Emma's expensive canopy bed, struggling desperately to find appropriate words that might bridge the seemingly impossible gulf opened between them. "Sweetheart, I was genuinely trying to protect you from potentially dangerous people who might hurt you." "Protect me from what exactly?" Emma finally turned to face him, young eyes still red and swollen from hours of heartbroken crying. "From learning that good, decent, honest people can be poor and homeless through absolutely no fault of their own? From understanding that real friendship doesn't cost money or require expensive gifts? From being systematically taken advantage of by desperate people who see our family's wealth as nothing more than an opportunity for personal gain?" Ryan said quietly, voice carrying years of accumulated cynicism and bitter experience. Emma studied her father's face with disturbing, adult-like intensity that made him profoundly uncomfortable. "Is that what happened to you when younger, Daddy? Did someone take cruel advantage of your kindness and generosity, so now you don't have any left to give people who really need help?" The perceptive question pierced straight through Ryan's carefully constructed psychological defenses like a laser-guided missile finding its target. How had his 8-year-old daughter managed to see through his protective facade so clearly when trained psychiatrists had failed to do the same? Adult relationships and business dealings are infinitely more complicated and dangerous than you could possibly understand at your age, Emma. "No, they're really not complicated at all," Emma replied with startling simplicity. "Maya needed a friend who cared about her as a person, and I needed someone who liked me for who I really am, instead of what expensive things I own. We helped each other feel less lonely and scared. That's not complicated, that's just what genuine love looks like." Ryan felt unexpected tears beginning to prick his eyes for the first time in months. When had he completely forgotten what authentic, unconditional love actually looked like in practice? When had he become so cold that his own daughter could see his emotional bankruptcy more clearly than he could? "Tell me more about Maya and your friendship," he said softly, making a conscious decision to really listen with an open mind for the first time in years. "Help me understand what I'm missing." Emma's entire face immediately lit up with genuine joy and excitement for the first time since their devastating confrontation earlier that day. "She's absolutely amazing, Daddy. She's incredibly smart and wise and funny. And she's taught me more important things about the real world in just 3 months than I learned in school during the entire last year." "What specific kinds of things has she taught you that seems so important?" "She taught me that being truly grateful isn't just about saying thank you politely when people give you things. It's about actively remembering that not everyone in the world has the privileges and advantages I've been lucky to have. She showed me that being genuinely intelligent isn't about always having right answers ready, it's about learning to ask right questions that help you understand truth. And she explained that being truly rich has absolutely nothing to do with money and bank accounts. It's about having people in your life who love you unconditionally." Ryan felt his carefully guarded heart beginning to crack wide open like ice breaking in spring. "Maya actually said those profound things to you?" Emma nodded enthusiastically, eyes shining with love and admiration for her absent friend. "She also said that you were probably the richest man in the entire world because you had me to love you completely and unconditionally, even during times when you seemed to have forgotten how to properly love yourself." Ryan stared at his daughter in complete amazement and growing respect. "An 8-year-old homeless girl said that about me? About us?" "Maya sees things completely differently than most adults do," Emma explained with patient wisdom seeming far beyond her chronological age. "She notices important details and truths that grown-ups usually miss because they're too busy trying to seem successful and important to other people." Ryan stood abruptly and walked to Emma's window, looking out at busy Manhattan streets far below. In the distance, he could observe hundreds of people hurrying along sidewalks in both directions, everyone completely focused on their own private lives and individual problems. When had he stopped seeing them as unique individuals with their own complex stories, their own struggles and dreams? When had they become nothing more than obstacles or opportunities in his relentless pursuit of greater wealth and power? Daddy? Emma's voice was small and worried, filled with the kind of concern only a child can have for a parent they love despite everything. Do you think Maya and her father found somewhere safe and warm to sleep tonight? The innocent, caring question haunted Ryan through what turned out to be a completely sleepless night. He found himself lying in his king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets worth more than most people's monthly salary, staring at the ceiling and wondering about Maya's father. What kind of man was he really? What series of tragic events had brought them to life on the streets? Why hadn't Ryan thought to ask these basic human questions during their brief, uncomfortable encounter? The next morning, Ryan made a decision that would have absolutely shocked his corporate board. Instead of going to his corner office to handle usual daily crises, he drove his $200,000 Bentley to the main public library Maya had mentioned. He found them easily in the computer section on the second floor. A man in his early 30s, obviously clean and well-groomed but wearing clothes that had seen better days, typing with intense concentration and obvious desperation on one of the library's public computers, while Maya sat quietly beside him with a towering stack of advanced mathematics and literature books, reading with remarkable focus and occasionally whispering words of encouragement when visible. Frustration crossed her father's worried face. Ryan observed them carefully for several long minutes, noting the man's obvious complete devotion to his daughter's well-being and education, the way Maya instinctively offered emotional support when disappointment appeared in her father's expression during his seemingly endless job search, and the profound, unconditional love clearly evident between them despite their obviously desperate circumstances. Finally, after gathering courage, Ryan approached their table with uncharacteristic nervousness and uncertainty, emotions he rarely experienced in his carefully controlled business environment where he always maintained absolute authority and confidence. "Excuse me," he said quietly, not wanting to startle them. "Are you Maya's father?" The man looked up immediately from his computer screen, instantly recognizing Ryan from countless news photographs and magazine covers over the years. His expression became immediately guarded and defensive as he instinctively moved his chair closer to Maya in an unmistakably protective gesture. "Yes, sir. I'm David Rodriguez," he replied carefully, voice carrying obvious tension and wariness. "Maya told me about what happened yesterday outside your building. I want to assure you that we'll stay completely away from your property and your daughter from now on. We absolutely don't want any kind of trouble or conflict." Maya looked up from her thick mathematics textbook with obvious surprise and curiosity to see Ryan standing awkwardly at their library table. "Mr. Cross? Is Emma okay? She seemed really upset and scared yesterday when your security people took me away." "She misses you terribly," Ryan admitted with painful honesty. "She's been crying in her room since yesterday afternoon. Would it be possible for me to sit down and talk with both of you for a few minutes?" David nodded reluctantly, still clearly protective and suspicious but obviously curious about Ryan's unexpected appearance and apparently conciliatory attitude. Ryan sat down carefully across from them at the small library table, feeling oddly nervous and uncertain complex emotions he rarely experienced in his controlled corporate environment where he always maintained absolute authority and unquestioned dominance. "I owe both of you a sincere and heartfelt apology," Ryan began carefully, choosing words with the same precision he used in crucial business negotiations. "Yesterday I made automatic assumptions about your character and motivations that were completely unfair, unjustified, and unnecessarily cruel." Maya tilted her head thoughtfully, studying his face with those remarkably perceptive eyes that seemed to see straight through all pretense and facade. "Emma told me that you weren't really a mean person deep inside. She said that sometimes people who are carrying a lot of sadness and pain act mean and angry because it feels much easier and safer than letting themselves feel hurt and vulnerable." Ryan blinked in complete astonishment, absolutely stunned by the child's sophisticated psychological insight and emotional intelligence. "Your daughter is extraordinarily wise and perceptive, Mr. Rodriguez. She has a remarkable gift for understanding human nature." David smiled genuinely for the first time since Ryan had approached their table, his defensive posture relaxing slightly. "She inherited that special gift from her mother. Maya has always had this incredible, almost supernatural ability to see the world differently than other people, to find the good in people even when they can't see any good in themselves. What type of work are you actively searching for? Ryan asked with growing interest and genuine curiosity about their situation. Honestly? Anything that's legitimate, steady, and pays enough to support my daughter, David replied with quiet dignity that Ryan found surprisingly impressive. I was a certified public accountant with a respected firm before we lost everything to medical bills and economic circumstances. But at this desperate point, I would gladly accept any job that could provide basic stability and security for Maya's future. Ryan studied David's face carefully, observing the obvious pride clearly warring with crushing desperation, and the overwhelming unconditional love for his daughter evident in every single word he spoke and every gesture he made. I own and operate several different companies in various industries, Ryan said slowly, an idea beginning to form in his analytical business mind. We're constantly searching for qualified financial professionals with unquestionable integrity, strong work ethics, and genuine dedication to excellence. Hope flickered briefly in David's tired eyes before he consciously forced it down, clearly afraid to believe in the possibility of good fortune after so many months of rejection and disappointment. Mr. Cross, I genuinely appreciate the offer, and I'm grateful that you would even consider it, but I absolutely cannot and will not accept charity or pity from anyone, no matter how desperate our situation becomes. It wouldn't be charity in any way, shape, or form, Ryan replied firmly and with complete conviction. It would be a legitimate business decision based on careful evaluation of qualifications and character. Emma has told me that Maya speaks 3 languages fluently and excels at advanced mathematics well beyond her grade level. Those kinds of exceptional academic skills don't develop spontaneously or accidentally. They come from excellent parenting, natural intelligence, and strong family values consistently applied over time. If you manage to raise a daughter like Maya under these incredibly difficult and stressful circumstances, maintaining her education and emotional well-being despite homelessness and uncertainty, then you're exactly the kind of person I want working for my organization. Maya looked back and forth between her father and Ryan with growing hope and excitement beginning to shine in her expressive eyes. Does this mean that Emma and I could be friends again? Could we see each other and play together? Ryan felt his carefully guarded heart constrict with unexpected emotion and genuine warmth. If your father decides to accept the position I'm offering, you would be living in our company's employee housing complex, which is actually quite nice and comfortable. That would mean you'd be automatically enrolled in the same private school as Emma. You would see each other every single day. David stared at Ryan in complete disbelief and overwhelming gratitude, clearly struggling to process this dramatic reversal of fortune and unexpected opportunity. Why would you do something this generous and life-changing for complete strangers? What do you possibly gain from helping us? Ryan looked directly at Maya, remembering Emma's profound words about seeing people differently and recognizing what truly mattered in life beyond material possessions and social status. Because my 8-year-old daughter taught me something invaluable yesterday, Ryan said quietly. She taught me that sometimes the people we initially think need our help the most are actually the ones who have the most valuable lessons to teach us about what really matters in life. 3 months later, Ryan stood in the doorway of Emma's beautifully decorated bedroom, quietly observing his daughter and Maya as they worked together intensely on an ambitious science fair project about renewable energy sources. Maya had indeed started attending Emma's exclusive private school, where she had quickly established herself as one of the top students in her entire grade while simultaneously helping Emma discover a genuine love of learning she had never demonstrated before. David had proven to be exactly the kind of employee Ryan valued most highly, completely honest in all dealings. Incredibly hardworking and dedicated, innovative and creative in his problem-solving approaches, and absolutely committed to excellence in every task. More importantly, David had gradually become a trusted friend and confidant, someone who consistently reminded Ryan what true integrity, loyalty, and moral character looked like when applied in daily practice. "Girls, dinner is ready," Ryan called cheerfully from the doorway, as Maya and Emma ran past him toward the elegant dining room, chattering excitedly about their elaborate project and laughing together like the genuine best friends they had become. Ryan felt his beloved wife Sarah's loving, compassionate presence more strongly than he had experienced since her tragic death over 2 years earlier. His wonderful wife would have been incredibly proud of him, not because of his impressive financial success or business achievements, but because of his willingness to let 2 remarkable strangers teach him what family, love, and human connection truly meant. At dinner that evening, as he watched Maya patiently helping Emma with challenging Spanish homework, while David shared entertaining stories about their previous adventures in different cities before achieving their current stability, Ryan realized something profound and completely life-changing about himself and his priorities. The day he had discovered Maya and Emma sharing food on that Manhattan sidewalk, he had convinced himself that he was protecting his innocent daughter from being manipulated and taken advantage of by opportunistic strangers who saw his family's wealth as nothing more than a golden opportunity for personal gain. Instead, through their courage, dignity, and genuine love for each other, he had been the one who received the greatest possible gift, the precious opportunity to remember that authentic wealth isn't measured in dollars, stock portfolios, or real estate holdings, but in the meaningful, lasting connections we build and maintain with other human beings who matter to us. Emma looked up from her challenging homework assignment, catching her father's contemplative expression and gentle, peaceful smile that had become increasingly common over the past several months. "Daddy, are you feeling okay tonight? You look different, somehow happier and more relaxed than you've been in a long time." Ryan smiled warmly, reaching across the elegant mahogany dining table to squeeze both girls' hands affectionately and gratefully. "I'm absolutely perfect, sweetheart. More perfect and content than I've been in many, many years." As genuine laughter, joy, and love filled the dining room with warmth that no amount of money could ever purchase, Ryan finally understood with crystal clarity that sometimes the most important and transformative journeys in life begin with a single courageous step outside our comfortable zones. And sometimes, if we're incredibly fortunate and open to unexpected lessons, they begin when a homeless child sees the world more clearly and honestly than those of us who believe we have everything figured out. The billionaire who had built seemingly impenetrable walls around his broken heart had finally learned that the strongest, most lasting foundations in life aren't constructed from fear, suspicion, and emotional isolation, but from the courage to allow worthy others into our most vulnerable spaces and deepest feelings. And in teaching that invaluable, life-changing lesson with patience, grace, and unconditional love, Maya had given Ryan something infinitely more valuable than any business deal he had ever completed. She had given him back his capacity for love, compassion, empathy, and genuine human connection with others. The transformation was complete, permanent, and beautiful. 3 lives had indeed been changed forever by those 60 crucial seconds on a Manhattan sidewalk, and the positive ripple effects of that pivotal moment would continue spreading outward, touching and improving countless other lives as Ryan, Emma, and Maya learned together that the greatest wealth and most lasting happiness come not from what we accumulate and hoard for ourselves, but from what we willingly share with others who need it most.